Good morning, Internet. We are doing handmade watercolor, and we're going to another approach. Instead of using a dried pigment, we're going to use a textile pigment that is already wet, and it is, it is, I think, about 2.5 ounces, but it's also liquid, so it's probably already has medium in it, and based on the other products that they have for tie-dye, it's probably got 2/3 of a gram. Well, no, 2/3 of an ounce, or an ounce being 28 grams. It probably is 20 grams. So the unit might be 20 grams or 20 milliliters. So if we convert that to what we have, we've got, it's going to be hard to convert because it's wet pigment, and then our gum arabic is dry, and I think we're just going to have to experiment. But the first, I have already mixed these up, and I have already put them 1 to 4 with a liquid gum arabic from Winsor Newton, and I would put 1 part of their pigment, wet pigment, to 4 parts of wet gum arabic, and then I added some other elements, and so that would have been that I would take 1 part liquid, or in this case we're going to call that a liquid pigment. Anyway, let's call it that, pigment wet. We don't know how intense that is, but let's add 4 parts gum arabic anyway. Keep everything simple. And then 1 part glycerin, and 1/4 part ox gall. I've been consistently adding ox gall for the entire test of the many pigments we have done. I think we are now up to 8 dry pigments that we have mixed. So now this is the first time that we're going to illustrate a wet pigment. So here we have the tin of empty tin that we're going to use, and let's take a look at that liquid. Boy, that's a lot. Okay, so according to my original plan, we're going to use 1 part. Let's determine what our part is going to be. I think that we're going to use a teaspoon got a 5-gallon bucket of water under the table here. I am cleaning off all of the previous pigments that this teaspoon had to deal with. That looks like I have to almost scrape it off. Yeah, and that's almost all. That's what gum arabic can also become brittle, which is why glycerin is almost always added, because it's got all sorts of good qualities, but being brittle isn't one of them. Well, let's try this. Here's my spoon, and we're going to pour it onto my spoon. One heaping teaspoon. I previously tested these. I think I'm going to make more. 2 teaspoons. So my single part is 2 teaspoons. And we will, I wonder if okay, there's the violet. And now let's add 2 teaspoons of pigment, wet. So let's update our formula, or at least convert it. So we need 8, and we need 2, and actually maybe 1/2, so that would be 0.5 milliliters. Anyway, we are going to add let's add 4 at first. And that's a lot of gum arabic. And on top of that, now we said in our formula we were going to use 8, but so far we've just used 2 of that and 4 of this. Let's put in the 2 glycerin now. So far we have altered the recipe just slightly, and now we put the glycerin in. And I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of the glycerin. So we have just added the pigments, 4 parts of dry gum arabic, and 2 parts of glycerin. Now, maybe that the 4 parts gum arabic is good because this wet pigment may have gum arabic and not just water. So let's go 2, 4, maybe all of the batches, and so that we compare apples to apples. And also let's use 5/10 of a milliliter, and we use 5/10 of a milliliter of ox gall. The ox gall. Okay, Just have 5/10. There's 5/10. I lost half of it. Well, boy, can't get good help, you know? Would be out of stone, and let's mix up. I'm gonna add enough to liquefy the gum arabic. So we're going to put a bunch of water in to see where we go. Well, maybe I overdid it because this is quite liquid. And I only put in, well, it may be a We just had an unusual event. We got a little rain. It's an odd thing, too. There's some chunks in there. I don't know if I may have screwed some things up here. Well, I'm sure this is going to be just fine. And in fact, I think it's just about, it's just a little chunky. And it's probably because I left it sit and the gum arabic turned into a little wad of something. But yeah, a little wad of dried gum arabic. Gum arabic is brittle, and also it looks like it's brittle sometimes when it. I could just stir that without making a mess. Getting a preview of what it's going to look like. Alright, I'm thinking. So we're continuing with the test on the Jacquard 110 violet. And that is right here. And a convenient thought though is that if you just want to try out this stuff and try out the watercolors, then this might be a very convenient way to do it with the liquid already made up gum arabic from Winsor Newton, and a $28 order of these textiles pigments, and just add the gum arabic and a little vegetable glycerin and go. Maybe even skip the ox gall, because I think the paint is pretty good, and I don't think it's got a problem with spreading or sticking, because we're not using honey. So we're trying, I've got a roll of watercolor paper that wants to blow away. How that can happen. Just shifted. It's okay. Alright, so now I am going to lay on some water. Clean water. Okay. We just got this clean water from the 5-gallon bucket, and then we've got the slightly dirty water here, but the water from the 5-gallon is crystal clear. Well, if it isn't, it's pretty close. Trying to find a place yeah, that's a good place. And so, let's get out our brushes. I'm going to put some water down first. Okay. Ow. Maybe I didn't need to. I think I just made that just the right consistency to just pull it right out of the pot. So, wow, it is pretty transparent, the way that recipe. So it is possible it's got way too much gum arabic, because the liquid pigment probably had gum arabic in it. Now this is going around on very smoothly, without ox gall. It's also going on very transparent. We don't know what the qualities of this violet should be. Okay, so it just rained, and now the wind's coming, which is often a sign that it's going to rain again. Okay, there. So, as you can see, you get a lot of nice features, and this is a different mix than I'm using on dry pigments, obviously, because we've got wet pigments, and they have a whole different fluidness. We of course can see that it is seeking its own level. Let's have it seek the level toward us. Well, it looks pretty cool. I like it. Let's see how it is. It lifts. It's bound to lift wonderfully. And I put down some droplets of water, and they on the wet on wet, they just went south. This is very wet. Let's see if we can lift. I actually have a dry spot on my chamois. Well, it looks like it's shifting, but it's lifting. And let's see. Yeah. Look at everything's going to the right. Why is that? Yeah. Wow. Well, it's fine. It could just shift toward you, but my table shouldn't be like that. Anyways, okay, so now I made it level horizontally. Assume, or at least came close. Yeah, it's pretty good. You could even use a smidgen up vertically on this side, but it's pretty level left to right. And what do we get when we let it drip this way? You can see we're looking for granulation, and we might not see it for a minute. So let's yeah, we see a little bit over there. Okay, when the wind comes, you have to batten everything down. Well, no wind, but that can change. All of this weather is going to go to the east. Like they don't have enough of a problem with flooding in Missouri and in Kentucky. So yeah, it's too bad. I'm cleaning out my knife. Well, I'm pretty sure I have other knives. Yeah, let's try it. This is especially good for mixing pigment. So let's see what happens. Now it's of course drier. I went from left to right. I'm very wet here. And we see figuring. We see that it lifts up very well. It goes on smoothly. And we probably 30 divided by 60 $5, and we probably have used a fifth of that, so $1 worth of pigment, and perhaps even less of the gum arabic. But I am on this batch going to see if I'm going to change the formula just a little bit for this particular product. So what seemed to work well, and we can look at it here, is 2 parts pigment, 4 parts gum arabic, 2 parts glycerin, but we're going to hold the ox and gall. So we should think about going on to the next project. I know I usually put a second pigment in there, but I wanted the pigments or the paint to be from this same group here and not mix some other. So I'm going to sign off from rainy Southern California. Bye now.